Ladies and gentlemen, drivers, gig workers, and everyone in between, welcome to This Week in Rideshare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Hoffa. It is Friday, July 18th, and this week, LA drivers are targeted. Uber partners with Lucid, and they're coming for your apps. Legal Rideshare breaks it down. And from Legal Rideshare, I'm joined by the co-founder and lead attorney, Bryant Greening. Bryant, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Jared. Great to be back here. We've got another round of This Week in Rideshare. Let's go.
Let's go. And no, we haven't done this in a while. I think we should bring this up. We are still doing that Ask Us Anything. I literally have the chat open right now. So if you are watching or tune in later, ask us anything. Anything you want to talk about. Obviously, we prefer it to be PG and focused on rideshare, but I'll take a gamble, Brian. Why not? Let's see what
Hey,
happens.
I'm game. Let's make it PG-13.
Yeah, let's crank it to PG-13. I think we can do
Right.
that. Hilarious. So we'll get started the stories this week. The first one is unfortunately one we hear about way too often. Uber Eats drivers in LA are getting robbed. Now this is from ABC7 in LA, and they reported, quote, during Tuesday's police commission meeting, Chief Jim McDonald said there have been 8 different incidents involving Uber Eats drivers reported this year. He also said that he's seen more taco stand robberies, with 5 reported in the Wilshire, Hollywood, and Northeast LA areas. He said those taco stand robberies involved 2 male suspects. McDonald said officers are pursuing leads and hope to make arrests soon. Anyone with information is urged to contact police. I bring this up because, Brian, it's not covered a lot. In Chicago, especially a couple years ago, the carjackings, the robberies, targeting delivery and Uber drivers was pretty severe. So it seems like it's not going away.
Yeah, we hear about these stories all the time, and I think it's important that they are highlighted because the public need to understand and the driving community needs to understand that this is a dangerous job. Rideshare drivers and delivery workers are often targeted, and they're targeted because criminals see them as sitting ducks. They're pulling over all the time. They're getting in and out of their cars. They're expecting people to approach them, so maybe their guards down a little bit. So it's really important to just highlight these stories, make sure that everybody understands that you do need to understand where you're going, keep your head on a swivel, keep your spidey sense up, and listen to your instincts. If you think that something doesn't seem right, if somebody's approaching you that seems like they don't, mean good, listen to that and get out of that situation. Your safety, your well-being, your life is not worth a delivery order. So do everything that you can to protect yourself. Make sure that you're acting responsibly. And this also should be a warning to the companies that more needs to be done to protect drivers. There has to be safety mechanisms in place. There have to be ability for these drivers to contact authorities right away if they need, flag help if necessary. We're dealing with some of the biggest companies in the world, and they need to innovate safety as much as possible.
Yeah, I think it was about a year ago or so, or even 2. In one of these situations, we even took on as a client. But Uber and Lyft were really, they had the safety protocols in place. They were really touting that maybe a year or 2 years ago. But a lot of those were really faulty. I remember we had cases where drivers were hitting the app, hitting the SOS button or emergency button on Lyft, and they weren't getting a response. And the same thing was happening with Ubers. Now, we haven't covered that in a while, and I'm hoping it's gotten better. But, that's something that I, as you had just said, really hope that these companies, Uber and Lyft, take seriously and work on perfecting, because it really is, seconds could matter when someone hits that button. And if there's no response, it's really bad news.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to highlight that there is responsibility here for everybody. Drivers need to make sure that they're taking necessary actions to protect themselves. The companies have to be taking necessary precautions to help workers that they're sending into dangerous situations. And communities need to demand safety as well. So it's a 3-pronged process here. And if everybody does their part, rideshare and delivery work can be safe. It's just a matter of ensuring that we don't have any loose wheels, that the drivers the companies and the communities are doing everything that they can.
Yeah, yeah, well said. Moving on, we are back and, of course, talking about robotaxis. Uber is expanding its robotaxi partners. This is from Bloomberg. They reported, quote, Uber announced Thursday it will purchase and operate Lucid Gravity SUVs, which will be outfitted with Neuro driver technology on its ride-sharing network. The company aims to launch the first vehicle later in 2026, with plans to deploy at least 20,000 of the robotaxis over 6 years. The rideshare company also announced it's making separate multi-$100 million investments in both Lucid and Neuro. That funding will include $300 million for Lucid that will be used in part to upgrade its assembly line, assuming to increase the capacity of these robotaxis. This pretty much proves that there's already now more than a dozen partnerships that Uber has announced with autonomous vehicle tech developers and car makers, even including Waymo and Volkswagen Group of America, as it aims to be the go-to commercial app for robo-taxis. This is clearly a sign if you can't beat them, join them. I guess in better words, if you can't beat them, pay them. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think Uber is seeing, as we all are, that robo-taxis are the future. Uh, Uber has a lot to gain to get autonomous vehicles on the road if they can have vehicles driving 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not having to pay drivers minimum wages, which many cities are implementing. This is the future for the company, and it's tried for years to develop the technology on its own, failed over and over. So yeah, as you said, if you can't beat them, join them, and they're finding all these different ways to partner with autonomous vehicle makers, have their company be the ones that puts all these autonomous vehicles on the road. And with that, I think hopes to drive out the competition. If Uber has better name recognition than say a Waymo right now. So if they can give the same service while using the name recognition of Uber as the rideshare company, that's one way to push companies like Waymo off to the side, try to tamp down their ability to enter the market and take market share. So I think Uber's really just acting in a life or death situation right now. If they can't develop these robo-taxis and they know that robo-taxis are the future, they better find a way to put their brand on other companies' autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. And it really, I'm actually curious about this because they're using all these different systems and they're using all these different companies. I don't even know how it looks on the app. Do you have any idea how it look like? Are you able to choose it at some point, or is it just going to kind of be a melting pot and it's going to be like Uber AV, and in tiny fine print, powered by Lucid or powered by Waymo? I'm very curious how that's even going to work.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their plan is, but I would assume that it's really the same as their current rideshare business. You request a ride and you don't know whether you're getting a Honda or a Toyota or a Ford, but a car shows up. And I would
Right.
imagine that just as you said, you're ordering Uber AV and that AV shows up with whatever brand is closest to you. So that's my expectation of how it'll go. But the more of these autonomous vehicle manufacturers that they can partner with, obviously the more autonomous vehicles will be on the road and the more cars that'll be there to meet the demand that I really do think the passengers are going to be seeking.
Yeah, and so yeah, we will see. Obviously, once it starts hitting the apps, the main apps, how the response is on that. It's going to be interesting for sure. I think that is probably going to be what you said. You're just sort of going to get a car, whatever AV it is what you're getting. We will see. And our final story this week: Uber is coming for your apps. This is from Business Insider, and they reported, quote, as gig workers' incomes have dropped, some Uber and Lyft drivers are turning to apps like GigU, Maximo, and Maestro to help them work smarter and dodge the lowest paying rides. Some of the apps have recently encountered roadblocks in the form of rideshare giant Uber and Lyft, which argue that using the third-party apps runs afoul of their terms of service. Now, these apps aren't free, but they say drivers can increase their earnings by more than what the tools cost, which range from $5 to $19 a month. Some drivers have previously told Business Insider that they can make more money if they're pickier about the rides they accept. though for Uber drivers, declining rides based on destinations can put their account at risk, a la deactivations, as we all know. Now it's the one cracking down. GigU, which launched in the United States in May, was sued by Uber in Brazil. We talk about GigU all the time, where it said its app has been downloaded 500,000 times. GigU says it has come out ahead, although Uber said that the legal process is ongoing. However, GigU also said that it has filed an antitrust complaint against Uber with CADE, a Brazilian regulator. So we had talked about GigU. We work with GigU. They're amazing guys, amazing team. This is an interesting article that's really starting to shine light, not just on sort of these apps, but the tension. It's finally starting to crack. Uber's kind of firewall of our way or the highway. So I thought it was really interesting to highlight this article about what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, it is interesting. And there are so many of these different apps that I don't think it's responsible for us to talk generally and say all these are good and all these are bad or whatever. We've talked to the gig you guys. We love what they're doing. I think that their approach seems to be legitimate, as they've explained, that they're not violating the terms of service. They're just taking the information that's available on the phone, not deep within the app. So, I'll take those guys at their word. And it seems like the legal system in Brazil has, substantiated that they're not doing anything wrong. And we'll see how it plays out in the US. But what I think is really interesting to talk about generally here is what you highlighted, that there are all these apps that are trying to find ways for drivers to work smarter and to not race to the bottom like Uber and Lyft want. Uber wants and Lyft want their drivers to just accept every ride that's offered to them, whether they're going to make $1 or $20. The driver's expected to just accept the ride and be grateful for it. Well, now that there are tools out there that allow drivers to make smarter decisions, the rideshare companies feel threatened. They are seeing that, well, if people are going to be picky and choosy, we're not going to be able to get rid of some of these less lucrative rides that really keep our company in motion. The companies work because no matter what ride you request as a customer, whether it's 1 block or 100 miles, somebody's going to pick it up. And if you can't get a driver to take your less desirable ride, quote, less desirable, then the company's system fails and the company's business model isn't as strong. And I think the companies are ultimately concerned that riders might revolt or go elsewhere or whatever may happen. It's bad for business. So the companies are stepping in as early as they can to try to get rid of this transparency, to try to make it so drivers have to take whatever rides are offered to them rather than pick and choose. And we'll see how it plays out. But I think that this transparency, which rideshare so often lacks, is not a bad thing because it gives the drivers, the workers, options. It gives them power. And ultimately, it gives them control over their own destiny, which really scares the rideshare companies.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we can't talk on all of them because we don't know them in length, obviously. But even in this article, and we knew this before because when we had them on the show, GigU, it's a great sign when, even though it's in Brazil, it's a great sign that the court sided with GigU. And so and they say it here in the article, hey, they're using third-party tools to bypass the system, which breaks our community guides and terms of service. But GigU has proven in court in Brazil, we did not bypass the system, we did not break into the system, we did not break your guidelines. And so I think that's where things are starting to change a little bit here, where companies are no longer just, hey, we're gonna run this until they yell us and stop. They're really saying, no, there's a need for drivers to have transparency, and if Uber and Lyft aren't going to do it, we're going to build apps that follow the guidelines that court says is fine and help drivers out. Obviously, the biggest solution here would just be let Uber and Lyft be transparent with drivers, but wow, that's asking for way too much, obviously.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that would solve the whole thing, but this is the industry we're in and where it's at. But that is the stories for this week. As always, Brian, I will give you the final say before we head into the weekend.
Yeah, we always remind everybody that should you find yourself in an accident or injured on the road, please contact Legal Rideshare for a free legal consultation. We can help you with your claim for cost of medical treatment, lost wages, pain and suffering, any other damage that you sustain. Uh, the consultations are always free. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We want to help you set up a solid foundation for your case. All of our contact information is on legalrideshare.com. That's the best way to get in touch with us. And as I always remind everybody, these cases do not get better with time. So please act quickly, reach out to us fast, and we'd be happy to help.
Great. Thank you, Brian. And as I like to say, that is the end of this week in Rideshare. See you next week.